I'm Shiva.
I'm Sketch.
And if you haven't seen us for a while, it's because we're a little busy, because we made a thing! Okay, well, now that he's out of the way. Obviously, I spent the last year, pretty much the entire year, pregnant. And so I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about going to conventions and most specifically cosplaying while pregnant. So I thought I would start by saying that everybody's situation when they're pregnant, or if your partner is pregnant, is so unique. You never really know how you're going to feel or what your body's going to, do, even whether, you're going to fit into things, what's going to be comfortable. And you really don't know where in the journey that any of that stuff's going to happen. So it's really difficult when you're planning your convention year, because especially if you're cosplaying, we usually plan pretty far ahead. It's almost impossible to plan ahead, and that's really the first thing I would give you for advice, is be really flexible with your plans, and also be really kind to yourself. You're making a human, or your partner's making a human, and you don't know where you're going to be kind of from day to day, so you kind of have to plan to not have concrete plans. Would be the first thing I would say. As you go over kind of the course of it, in the first part of it, you can probably still go to conventions without worrying too much. You probably will still fit into most of your old costumes if you're cosplaying. And in the very beginning, you might not even know that you're pregnant, so other than not being able to drink, not being able to have all the caffeine you'd like to have, you can have some, and not having raw fish, so sushi night kind of sucks, your convention experience is probably going to be mostly the same as it normally would be. But you have to be kind to yourself and work with yourself. Most people, at the very beginning do start to feel really tired. That's kind of where I was. For the first 2 months, not so much. So I went to Katsucon, I was about 8 weeks pregnant. And my experience was pretty good. Other than going clubbing really sober, it was mostly fine. I did wear all my old costumes, and I wore my Princess Zelda costume, which had a corset. I also wore my Princess Chibi Moon had a corset in it too, which in general, corsets are a big no-no during pregnancy, but when you're that early in, the kid's like this big, so it doesn't really impact their health too much. I also didn't cinch them. I pretty much wore them kind of where they were to close, but I didn't like pull them closed or anything. So you're not going to feel like really kind of messing with your body that much anyway, just because you start feeling kind of like, you want to be comfortable. So other than don't do anything that's really going to restrict you, I think early on if you have a costume with a corset, you don't really have to like freak out about it too much. So that was pretty much normal. Now, as you start getting into like 3, 4, most people start feeling kind of sick. Some people do even earlier. I felt kind of nauseous throughout, but never really, really sick. But I did feel very, very tired. And so something to keep in mind, even when you're not at the convention yet, between Katsucon and AnimeCons, I pretty much could barely work on stuff. Sketch actually finished one of my costumes for me because I was just on the couch and just bleh. So you kind of get to a point where you just don't feel like doing anything, and that's something where, again, you have to be kind to yourself and remember that maybe you don't want to plan to make, something crazy or something new, or, when you actually get to the convention. And in Boston, for me, I did a lot of sleeping. My roommates went out at 9, I was done. You have to kind of go with the flow and again, be kind to yourself, because you don't want to overdo it. You're not going to have fun. And also keep in mind, walking makes you tired. What you can wear when you're not cosplaying, maybe the footwear. I know I planned to wear like my Princess Chibi Moon at Anime Boston. One of the reasons being the shoes were super comfortable. You also have to make a decision kind of, at this point for most people, your body's changing. You're not going to fit into a lot of the costumes you already own if you're cosplaying. There's really 2 ways you can handle cosplaying when you're pregnant and your body starts changing, which is 1, you can adjust the costumes you have, or 2, you can make costumes specifically for being pregnant, or, you could go kind of the third route, which is make costumes that you can fit into pregnant, but also could be readjusted to your normal size when, you come back. I really was not interested in making like pregnancy costumes. Like I wasn't going to do like pregnant Sailor Moon or something. Some people love to do that, and if that's your game, do it. The only thing that's hard is if you are going to do that, you have to kind of make the costume really fast, because from, you know, if it takes you a month to make the costume, if you fit it to yourself for month 1, it's not going to fit you by like month 2. So you have to make it either really fast or make it very adjustable. What I decided to do instead is that I actually modified some of my costumes to make them fit on me as pregnant, or I planned to wear stuff where that part of the costume wasn't really impacted. So for example, I wore Princess Chibi Moon. It has like a tight top, but then the whole like waist is an empire waist, and it's open and it's very flexible. I also wanted to really wear my Riddle costume from Chrono Cross, because Anime Boston was doing a retro theme, and I made that costume in 2012, and my body was quite different. So what I did is I modified it in that I took the zipper out of the back and I changed it to a lace-up back, and actually added a panel in between so I could expand it to fit myself at the time, but also that, you know, when my body hopefully shrunk down the road, I could adjust it either way, so that I didn't permanently make my costume to fit any one size, that I changed it into an adjustable thing, which is actually good going down the road either way. So sometimes that's an option, is that you can actually take a costume you already have and make it work for some varying body shapes. But at that point, you know, you have to be careful about, you know, you can't really wear corsets. You can't do anything that, you know, like I couldn't wear my Zelda at that point because the armor was not going to fit either the top or the bottom. And you just have to make it work for you. And again, be kind to yourself. You also have to anticipate that usually, even if you don't have to worry about the waist size, the chest size varies. There was quite a few costumes in Anime Boston. I kind of went through my closet and tried on everything that I thought might work, and there was a lot of stuff that just did not fit up here. So I had to, you know, kind of change my mind and wear something that did work. And that's, again, you have to be flexible. So don't plan on any crazy groups or anything that's really concrete. I think you just have to kind of take some time to work with yourself and what's happening. Now going further towards the end of it, usually at that point you're not going to really be able to alter something. If you're going to cosplay, you're going to have to wear something specifically for your new body shape. A lot of times people like to do like funny costumes at that point. I did not actually cosplay down that far of the road. I didn't go to DragonCon last year. After Anime Boston, I said I'm done until we have this kid, because you also have to anticipate your mental state. I was not interested in like any of it at that point. I just felt crappy. I was like frustrated that nothing fit. I just was not interested in like cosplay was the last thing I wanted to think about. And I think going to a convention, I think I was so exhausted and I felt so shitty. I think I would have died if I tried to go to one in the summer. So if you're making plans, if you're buying tickets, keep in mind that you might want to wait. You might want to see how you feel, because you might not want to, you know, walk. I mean, the idea of walking around, even in regular clothes, was just completely distasteful to me at that point. But you might feel great. I mean, everybody has a different experience, but you have to be prepared that, you know, you may or may not be interested in that at that point. The other thing to keep in mind is when you get kind of really late, towards like the 3rd trimester, they don't even really let you get on a plane and fly. So you might not be able to travel if there's a convention that you wanted to go to that requires air travel. You may not be allowed to by your doctor because of blood clots and risk and all of that stuff. Especially if you might encounter other complications that usually come up in the 3rd trimester, like gestational diabetes as a complication, high blood pressure, preeclampsia. There's a lot of things where they keep a closer eye on you. Also, I didn't realize when I got pregnant that I would be going to the doctor as often as I expected. By the 3rd trimester, I had like 4 doctor's appointments a week. You know, and so I wouldn't have even had time to go to a convention, and they would be on the weekend, they would be during the week, they would, you know, it was crazy. And then you could go to one and they'd want to see you tomorrow. So your schedule really starts filling up with nothing but the hospital sometimes. And other people, you know, they don't watch you as closely, so you might be fine, but you have to be prepared for that. They might want to monitor you incredibly closely. And there are times that they might send you like straight to the hospital to get more tests when you go for an appointment that you thought was going to be like, you know, 15 minutes, suddenly turns into 4 hours. So again, when you get towards the end, plans, not really great to have concrete plans. Plus then you get to your final month, you can have that kid at any time, really. I mean, I happened to have my kid like the day before he was due, but they thought he was going to be born like 3 weeks earlier than that. You don't know. But you have to kind of be on, we called it baby watch. So, like if we had gone to Dragon Con, I would have been like the last month, and it just wasn't worth it to me. I was told Sketch he could go if he wanted, but he didn't want to be there because, of course, with irony, if he had gone, probably something would have happened. So that's pretty much it. That's very vague. I know. I think that it's difficult, again, to give advice because everybody's journey, if they're planning to have a kid, is so totally different. And if you are planning on doing it, you know, best of luck to you. I hope everything goes smoothly, and you're going to get a ton of advice you don't want. So, you know, take it or leave it, including mine. Because everybody has their 2 cents, and I think the best thing you can do is just listen to yourself, because you know what you're going through, and you know what your body is willing to do and what's not to do, and just don't beat yourself up if you can't do stuff that you want to do, because it's temporary. And right now it felt like the longest year of my life, and now it feels like it happened really fast. So it does feel like it goes away, and it does feel like it wasn't that bad in retrospect. But when you're going through it, it's tough, and you know, don't ask too much of yourself. All right. Best of luck to everyone. If you have any comments or questions, or want to write to us, please call us, email us, go on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Google+. Oh yeah, we have a Tumblr now. I forget about the Tumblrs. And let us know what you think. And see you next time.